My name is Arthur Bennett. I am 78 years old. I've lived a long, ordinary life, one built with steady hands and quiet principles. I served in the British Army when I was young, ran a modest carpentry shop in Kent for decades, and buried my wife Margaret far too soon. I've learned that grief humbles you, time sharpens you, and dignity. Dignity is something you must protect when no one else will, and nothing tested that belief quite like the day of my grandson's wedding. His name is Oliver. I held him the day he was born. I taught him how to sand wood without splintering it, how to tie a proper knot, how to look someone in the eye when they speak. His mother, my daughter, Claire, raised him mostly alone after his father walked out when Oliver was barely 3. She worked until her hands cracked, took night shifts, missed birthdays and holidays. She never complained. She just kept going. So when Oliver announced his engagement, Claire smiled the way mothers do. Proud, hopeful, a little tired. When he asked her to help pay for the wedding, she didn't hesitate. She cashed an old savings bond she'd been holding onto for decades and said, "It's his day, Dad. I want it to be beautiful." I wasn't convinced. His fiancée, Charlotte Whitmore, was polished, well-spoken, from money, the sort of woman who smiles with her mouth but not her eyes. She was always perfectly polite to Claire, polite in the way that leaves you feeling smaller afterward. Little comments, little dismissals, nothing loud enough to confront, and like most old men, I kept my mouth shut until the wedding day. The venue was grand, an old countryside manor wrapped in white flowers and soft music. Everything gleamed, everything whispered money. Claire stood near the entrance greeting guests, radiant in a navy dress she'd bought on sale months earlier. She looked proud, nervous, hopeful. Then Charlotte arrived. She was stunning, no denying that, but the moment her eyes met Claire's, something hardened. She walked straight toward her and said, loud enough for several guests to hear, "Claire, I think it's best if you leave. This day isn't about you. I don't want any distractions." The room went silent. Claire froze. She looked at Oliver, her son, waiting for him to say something, anything. He didn't. He looked away. That was the moment something inside me broke open. Claire nodded politely, as if she'd been asked to move seats at a cafe. No tears, no scene, just quiet humiliation. She turned and walked out. I followed her. We sat in the car for a long moment. She stared through the windscreen and said softly, "I suppose I raised him to put others first. I just didn't realize one day I wouldn't count as others anymore." That's when I stood up, because respect doesn't vanish quietly. It erodes when good people stay silent. I told her to wait. Inside my coat pocket was my phone. Weeks earlier, Claire had sent me a spreadsheet. Every payment, every invoice, every deposit. The venue, the catering, the flowers, the band, the honeymoon, all of it paid for by her. I made my calls calmly to the venue manager, to the caterer, to the florist, to the band, to the hotel. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten anyone. I simply stated facts. This event is no longer sponsored. Then I walked back into that beautiful hall, now filled with confused murmurs and awkward smiles. Oliver saw me first. "Grandad, what's happening?" I looked him in the eye. "I've corrected a misunderstanding," I said. "Since your mother isn't welcome, neither is her money." Charlotte went pale. Within minutes, the band stopped playing. Servers stopped pouring drinks. Flowers were quietly removed. Guests checked their phones, baffled. "You're embarrassing us," Charlotte hissed. I smiled. Not unkindly. "No, my dear. You embarrassed yourselves the moment you forgot who carried you this far." And then I left. That evening, Claire and I sat at her kitchen table eating shepherd's pie. No speeches, no champagne, just tea and quiet. For the first time in years, she smiled the way she used to. 6 months have passed. Oliver hasn't called. Charlotte didn't stay. Apparently, a marriage built on disrespect doesn't stand very long. Claire has started painting again. She took a weekend trip just for herself. And I sit in my garden most evenings watching the birds, thinking about how quickly life reveals who deserves your silence and who deserves your strength, because weddings come and go, but dignity, that's something you carry to the end. Respect is not optional, especially for those who sacrifice the most, and sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one who knows exactly when to stand up.